Hi, this is Jake from Deephaven, and today we're going to be talking about the Deephaven PyClient package. If you're familiar with Deephaven, you might be thinking, what's the PyClient package and how is it different from anything else Python in Deephaven? The PyClient package allows you to interact with Deephaven in a traditional Python environment, such as a Python script or a Flask server. So let's demo how to use this package. Here on screen we have two things. We have a fresh instance of Deephaven, and we have some Python scripts that use the PyClient package. Let's run some of these scripts and see how they interact with Deephaven. Starting with a simple example, let's create a table. When using the PyClient package, you always want to start by creating your session. This is simply your connection to Deephaven. Once you have your session, you can use the methods from that session to create and update tables. In this example, we create an empty table, we call an update on that table, and then we bind the table. Binding the table is important because that allows Deephaven to recognize the table, otherwise it will only exist locally. So let's run this script and see what happens. And as you can see, we now have a table in Deephaven. So let's click on this table, and we can see that it contains the results that we'd expect from our update. The PyClient package has another key feature, and that's its native integration with Pyarrow. The PyClient package allows for conversion between Pyarrow tables and Deephaven tables. So let's demo this. Again, as always, we start with our session. Once we have our session, we can create our Pyarrow table. Once we have our Pyarrow table, we can use the import table method to convert it to a Deephaven table. And just as before, we want to bind this table to Deephaven. And for completion, we can also convert our Deephaven table back into a Pyarrow table and display it on the terminal. So let's run this script and see what happens. And as you can see, our Pyarrow table is printed in the terminal. And if we go into Deephaven, we can see our Deephaven table right here. One last key feature of the PyClient that I'd like to demo is the runScript method. This method allows you to take a string, represent it as a Python script, and execute it server-side in Deephaven. This is useful if you're more familiar with Deephaven's server-side syntax, or if you want to create a global variable for reference within Deephaven. So let's demo this script. As always, we start with our session, and here we have a string represent a simple Python script that you might want to execute server-side in Deephaven. So once we've created this string, we call runScript using that string. You can also read from a Python file using Python's file methods to do the same thing, and this is useful if you want to store your scripts as an actual Python file. And let's see what that looks like. And just again, this is a simple update query that you might want to run server-side. So let's run our script and see how Deephaven interacts with it. And if we go into Deephaven, we can see we now have our tables created from running those scripts. Deephaven's PyClient package is a very powerful tool that allows you to utilize Deephaven in a traditional Python environment. Our examples org on GitHub contains several examples of using this package, so feel free to check those out. And thank you so much for watching.